Vitaimo, welcome everybody to St. Vladimir Institute's Ukrainian Immigration to Canada in Songs with Olga Zaitseva-Herz. I'm excited to start this new fall season of events with all of you. For those of you who joined us last season in the spring, thank you very much. And those of you who are new to St. Vladimir Institute, I hope that you enjoy all of the events we have to offer. This event, of course, is presented to you in collaboration with the Kule Folklore Center, Canadian Institute of Ukrainian Studies at the University of Alberta in Edmonton, Canada, and will be conducted mostly in English with some Ukrainian translation as well. Вітаємо вас на цю подію, що зорганізував Інститут Святого Володимира у співпраці із Kule Folklore Center, U of A, Edmonton. Ми передаємо цю подію англійською. My name is Julia Metalitya, and in addition to providing the technical support this afternoon, I will be monitoring and the chat and providing some of your questions to Olga for response. Якщо бажаєте передавати питання українською, прошу дуже. We do both languages here, and even Olga does German, so really submit them in any language you wish. I would like to begin by acknowledging the land from which this event is being broadcasted, Toronto. It is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, Haudenosaunee, the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit and Métis. I also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. I encourage you to find out more about the land which you are situated on today. So a little overview about the St. Vladimir Institute. Для тих, хто не знайомий з Інститутом Святого Володимира, SVI – це багатогранна будівля у центрі Торонто зі студентським гуртожитком на 46 кімнат і є домівкою 13 організацій. Інститут також є громадським культурним центром, в якому знаходиться театр, бібліотека і приміщення для різноманітних подій. Ми також пропонуємо культурні програми і заходи, курси української мови та громадської події. Культурні програми є ключовими у баченні місії та історії і спадщини Інституту Святого Володимира. Вони зміцнюють культурну ідентичність і людей українського походження і є важливим внеском для загальної канадської культури. Тому ми тут сьогодні і раді, що ви з нами також. Заки почнемо, хотіла перейти декотрі технічні зум-речі. Просимо всіх триматися на м'ют, щоб передбачити які-небудь перешкоди. Цю подію ми накручуємо, може мати ваш апарат включений або виключений, як вам легше. Просимо з нами говорити через чат. Це можете написати нам якісь питання з долину вашого екрану. Before I begin, I would just like to flag a few Zoom items. Please keep yourself muted to avoid any sort of interferences, as we have many guests joining us today. You are welcome to keep your camera on throughout the workshop, but note it is being recorded. Please use the chat located at the bottom of your screen to type in any questions. Дякуємо Шевченківській фундації, фундації Тимиртей та фундації СУС в Канаді за їхню підтримку. This afternoon, I am pleased to introduce you to Olga Zaitseva-Herz, a PhD student in ethnomusicology in the Department of Music at the University of Alberta, Edmonton, Canada, and a research assistant at the Kule Folklore Center. Olga's research focuses on Ukrainian-Canadian music, about which you will hear more shortly. Olga graduated in sound design from Kyiv-Kharpenko-Kari University of Theatre, Kino, and TV. She has a degree in violin performance and she completed her studies at the Frankfurt University of Music and Performing Arts in singing. Olga is an active performer with extensive international experience. In addition to communicating her research findings in traditional academic venues, she presents them in a form of performances with her music project Zaitsa, and has significant social media presence. For those of you who joined us early, the music we were playing was, of course, Olga's. So if you are on Spotify, check out her album there. Welcome, Olga. The floor is now yours. I'm excited to pass the mic off to you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for finding time and coming to my talk today. Thank you so much to St. Vladimir Institute for inviting me to give this talk. I'm excited because I feel this is a big honor to share the topic that I love, that I truly love. This is my passion, and I'm very happy that you're here to listen about it. I think I'll share my screen now, so you can see the slides. So now you're supposed to see the first slide. Fantastic. Yeah. So why did I decide to call my presentation Ukrainian immigration to Canada in songs? Because I think that songs are just such an important part of Ukrainian tradition. And as I already said, I admire this tradition and I admire Ukrainian songs as well. So when I came to Canada, actually before I came to Canada, I learned that there are fantastic archives and beautiful repositories of this material. And then I thought, I felt myself, I heard my heart calling to Canada to come and work with this material. So this is what I did. And I truly would like to thank all the people that support me on this way and help me to work with this material. So Ukrainian immigration to Canada in songs. When at the University of Alberta, we have Youth School. This is an initiative that works with classes, like school classes. It organizes talks for the kids. So I did it a couple of times, and while I've been speaking on Ukrainian music and Ukrainian-Canadian music, I shared the slide, this map that you can see. I find this so impressive. This is why I actually decided to take this slide into this presentation today. I prepared the slide just to show the children where Ukraine is, where Canada is. I mean, most of us will probably know that how big Ukraine is, how big Canada is, where both countries are. But I think this is still so impressive, and I also feel impressed every time when I look at this picture, and I still wanted to show you. So in this children presentations, I asked the class, how do you think people from Ukraine came to Canada? And they said airplane and so on. So we've been speaking about the first wave of Ukrainian immigration, and they for sure said airplane. And then I said, oh, there was no airplane at this time. What do you think could this be? And then they were thinking, I said, oh, maybe this was a ship. And then we developed the discussion on the ships and so on. So the fact is, also for myself, it is still difficult to imagine. It's not really possible to imagine like all the details of this travel that people managed during the long way from Ukraine, which was Habsburg Empire this time, to come to Canada. So this small black arrow that you can see is pointing onto Hamburg port. So this was one of the ports where the ships were departing and coming to Canada. It was also my big dream to come to Hamburg one day. I somehow didn't manage it to do earlier, but finally this year in August, I did this. And look what I found. So this is something I was indeed able to buy in the port in Hamburg. This is very fancy, I think, because this is indeed, I don't know how original it is in terms of the pictures that they use, but this is indeed advertisement of the ship of the travel from Hamburg to America line. So you can see here, it's in German, nach Kanada und den amerikanischen Staaten, to Canada and North American states. And I saw this, I thought, I just need to have this one. So this is very impressive, just to see, be in the place and I don't know, feel the air that it was kind of the same or not very much so many years ago. Yeah, so people who travel by ship didn't have such a short travel during this time as people who travel the ship from Hamburg to Halifax nowadays have, but it took them some couple of weeks. And yeah, I think the couple of weeks were not too easy. I mean, yeah, we all know that it wasn't easy at all. But the impressions that people got during this travel, they converted these impressions into poems, into songs. And there are many materials that appeared influenced through this travel, through the whole process of immigration. So the book that you see now on your screen is just one of the publications that exist and include the poems that people composed. What is really amazing is that the poems do really include the historical facts. Actually, they literally tell the story of immigration. They tell it's in so many details. You can see, so this is in Ukrainian and in the language in which it was prepared, composed. Yeah, as you can see, the poem starts with a person telling that he is preparing himself to go to Canada, how he is departing, how he is leaving his family, how his family is giving him the farewell, and then how he travels to Canada, how he is spending his time in Canada, and so on. And you see in the last verse on the second page, he also says that he is departing from Hamburg to Halifax. And this is so far, so if we translate the last verse, it says that this is, не можна видіти, бо всі люди аж з голоду не могли ходити. This is so far that you cannot really see. And I think this is so, there's so much in this poem actually. But another thing, which is also very interesting, those are not just poems, those are indeed songs. But if we just see a lyrics, printed lyrics on the page, it is not yet a song for us, right? Because to be a song, it needs to have a song melody. And the fact is that, as we know in Ukrainian tradition, people share events, people share things that happen to them, they communicate through songs. If we look back into the different historical periods and look into the material of Ukrainian songs, we will see that literally many of the important historical events are also reflected in this culture, in these pieces. So here we can also see that the fact of Ukrainian immigration, this is also very well reflected in this oral tradition. So the pieces like this are transferred into paper. They are for sure edited with many people who were bringing them into this written format. But this book was prepared in order to warn actually the brothers in Ukraine of the reality in Canada, because the life was not that very much fantastic as people sometimes heard who were recruited. And so there are many more of such poems, but yeah, what I wanted to say is the melody is missing. We don't have the melody. How did people know how to sing the songs? So there's a tradition, or there was a tradition, where people created poems based on the stories that happened to them, or based, like in this case, in this immigration experience. They transferred this into poem, brought this into paper, put it in the envelope, and sent them to the relatives, to the family, back to Ukraine. And the interesting thing is that people who received this letter, they saw this poem and they read it, and they kind of understood the pattern of the poem, and they heard the melody. They knew which melody to use. So there were several melodies which were very widespread, and they used them. They were pretty much matching to each other. And so this is one of the songs that, yeah, so like matched the melody that people knew. This is very interesting tradition to sing the experiences, right? Because if you're writing them on the paper, you could also write this and that happened to you, which people also did. But the fact, this necessity to write it in the form of poem and transfer it into the song is something that, yeah, excites me. This is, by the way, Hamburg port that I've seen this August. Doesn't look very much as it was at the end of 19th century, but still, I wanted to bring you this picture. Yeah, so in my work, I focus on one special collection of songs. This collection of songs was recorded in the 60s in Canada, in the provinces where Ukrainian immigrants mostly settled and organized settlements and communities. So if we look into the first and second immigration waves of Ukrainian immigration to Canada, we can see that people who settled in Canada were mostly, like especially the first wave, mostly from Galicia and Bukovina, that belonged to Habsburg monarchy at the time. They brought this tradition, rich tradition of oral songs with them to Canada, which was very, very strong in these communities. And this tradition in Canada, they continued to live it. It became, it got even a new meaning for the people, because it was a part of the homeland. It was something that kind of provided connection back to the homeland. And it was also something that connected them to the reality as well, because those songs, they were also practiced in the communities, new communities formed with the members from Ukrainian communities, the new communities formed in Canada itself. So some parts of the song, some parts of this repertoires were traditional songs, were religious songs. Some songs were created, inspired with this immigration travels and experiences, as the one that I showed you before. This material was circulating in Canada and was living. Because it was, I kind of like this word living in this case, because the songs, they were changing. They were how it works when the person is singing a song, another one learns it, and then he maybe switches a word. Maybe he also takes a new melody, because there were several melodies that were like the traditional in terms of the usual ones that people said, oh, that poem matches to this, right? The meta. But there were also new elements that came to the community, the elements that people adopted in the new surrounding in Canada. And these melodies and also the styles of vocal performing, especially vocal melismatics, they were inspired with the new surrounding as well. So the songs, they continued living, but their life developed in a different way than the life of Ukrainian song that stayed in Ukraine with Ukrainian communities in Ukraine, developed just in a different way. And so this Canadian way, Ukrainian-Canadian way, is something that I'm looking into. I just mentioned that there is one particular time frame when I'm looking into intensively. So, and this is the song collection that was recorded in the 60s. So in the 60s, Dr. Klimash, who still was not doctor at that time yet, decided to go into this settlements, Ukrainian settlements, and collect these Ukrainian songs. It was interesting that at the point when he originally wanted to start his research, he was inspired to find Dumas. Dumas is also type of Ukrainian song where accompanied with bandura, as you probably know. But this is something that he really was inspired with and wanted to collect and preserve, because this is also what his teachers also did in the past. And not only because of this, but this is one of the reasons that it inspired him a lot, and I definitely can relate. But when he came to the field, and the field is always something different, like we can imagine the situation, but when we get into the situation, this is always something a little bit different, right, as we know. So the field actually didn't provide him with these dumas, because the dumas were songs that were actually traditionally widespread in the central parts of Ukraine. And people who settled in Canada were actually from western parts. So, and then he thought, okay, well, I'm gonna record what I hear. And I'm super excited that he did this. So I have material for my for my thesis now. Well, not only this, actually, for sure, but also the fact, not also, but primarily the fact that he actually created something so special. He created a collection, which is indeed the only and the biggest, most extensive collection of Ukrainian-Canadian songs collected in Canadian prairies, in Ukrainian settlements, from Ukrainian pioneers. So this collection is huge. This is so big, and it took me years to find out where to look, how to get access to them, how to bring all of this together. And I was finally successful, which is very good, and I'm happy about it. This collection consists of about 3,000 songs. And the difficulty was that the parts of this collection, they were stored, it wasn't stored everything like in one point where I started to look at. So something that I got us inspired with is a part of this collection, which is stored at Bogdan Medvitsky Ukrainian Archives at the University of Alberta, Kule Folklore Center, where I have the honor to be a research assistant. So I heard the songs and I was so much impressed with them, and I decided to study them deeply. And then I went looking for the other parts of collection. Then I went to University of Indiana. They also had a part of the collection, but the biggest and the full collection was Canadian Museum of History in Ottawa. So this is the place where Dr. Robert Klimash also was working, and he stored this collection there. This collection was stored in reels, which means that it's not the digital format, so they were not yet digitized and not easily accessible. So I am very happy and grateful that that KIUS, a Canadian Institute of Ukrainian Studies, provided funding to digitize the full collection of this recording stored in Ottawa and Canadian Museum of History, which enabled us to create these digital copies. And now I'm working on making this accessible, because I think this is important, that for people, for relatives of these people, for researchers and scholars from all over the world to access the collection. So people who Klimash recorded, they were the pioneers who came with the very first immigration wave from Ukraine to Canada. But there were also people from the second immigration wave, because he did his recordings in the 60s. And there were also children of Ukrainian immigrants, so the Canadian-born children. So we also have a variety of informants in this collection, which enables us to do different types of research. Actually, it's a very interesting material. Yeah, so it was recorded in Alberta, Manitoba, and Saskatchewan, also Ontario a little bit, but mainly Alberta, Manitoba, and Saskatchewan. Yeah, let's go into the next slide. And before we go into this, I probably should say that another part of my work is to bring the songs on stage, because I want to return them to life, because this is something this is at least how I feel this when the song is being practiced, when somebody is singing the songs and hearing the songs, the song is living, it's getting new pieces, it's getting new impressions. It's been shared among the community. So the songs that I'm finding in this collection, not only this collection, but in the Canadian archives, I create arrangements for the songs and bring them on stage and share them with communities. Since my band is in Germany, we have many concerts in Germany and the countries around. But we also, I presented without my band yet, unfortunately, but I presented also in Toronto several times and in Edmonton this program. So so let's go to next slide. This is, for example, I'd like to just show you an example of how I'm doing this. And with this, I hope to inspire other musicians as well to take pieces, to find pieces in archives and bring them back into community. And so I have actually the original recording of the song, recorded by Robert Bogdan Klimash. And what I also wanted to say, so this is very interesting, because it happens that the same song is being sung by multiple informants in the collection. I mean, for sure, because he went to people and said, could you please sing me some Ukrainian songs? And since they've been sharing the songs in the community, they had them in their minds, so they share the same songs. And this is really interesting, because every informant has own version of the same song. The type of vocal presentation, the type of the form, the melody is sometimes different, and even the lyrics. So this is one of the versions that I found in this collection, and I'd like to play it for you now.
Ой, тіла мене мати, за першого дати, а той перший, він від мене старший, не дай мене моя мати, хотіла мене моя мати, за другого дати. А той другий від мені не любить, не дай мене моя мати.
Okay, so this is just a small piece. And when different informants are singing the same song, they, as I already said, they change it a bit. They use different elements, and they somehow, this is an individual piece. So when I'm creating arrangement, this is for sure like the new version of the song and the new piece. But I try to preserve some elements that I can adopt. For example, the melody. And there is a part of the melody that you can see, and then there are also versions of the chords. So like, for example, in this sound example that you've just heard, there was a solo singer, and we should think of the fact that in most cases, the songs were shared in the community in terms of they also been shared as a community action. There were choirs, or there were groups, at least groups of people who were singing the same song. And in this situation, when Robert Klimash is sitting with his recording device and the informat is singing the song, this is for sure something different a little bit, right? So, which means to me, as somebody who wants to know, oh, which kind of chord there actually could be, which kind of harmony, that makes this a little bit more challenging for me on one side. On another side, this leaves space for creativity. So when we decide to create arrangements for a song, we need to decide which chord, which harmony will I choose for this. And there are, in most cases, there are multiple possibilities. So you can actually do it as you like. And we just need to to find a version, to come up with an idea, and then we stop on it, and then we create it with different voices. So in the case of my project, I bring it on stage in the format of modern music experience, performance, and so I have a pianist in my band, drums, we have bass, guitar, multiple types of percussion, and then we also use experimental things, like, for example, theremin. Maybe you've heard of this. This is only contactless instrument that is widespread in the world and being practiced now, but it's also still rare at the same time. So yeah, it's so we use different kinds of stuff. And so this is, for example, the arrangement for the song. And sometimes when I use the original recording, and I want to bring it on stage in the context of arrangement, band arrangement, this is for sure a different type of challenge, because when the person is singing a cappella alone, in most cases it doesn't have a strict meter and tempo, so it fluctuates. What you can see on the slide, for example, so there is, for example, this blue line is the original recording. In order to create the arrangement or track that you can use on stage, you need to kind of cut it and divide it into little pieces that you can move a little bit around in order to bring it in time that will work with the band arrangement. And there's, for example, you can see the drum line, the bass, and So this is just an example. I have also brought small video that I wanted to show you. Now I need to load it a little bit. So you can just get a small impression of how it looks like when we bring it on stage and share it with communities. So to mute it now, yes. So there are actually always possibilities how to present the song. For sure depends on the fact what is the main goal. As I already mentioned, I think that the fact of leaving of the material is important, and sometimes people they remember the stories told by the grandmother. They get inspired to go into archives and look for the materials. It also happened that I met someone who was in my presentation and asked me about, for example, the recordings of the babas, and they were indeed in this collection, which is absolutely amazing to hear someone's voice who you either met but you were a small child and don't really remember, but sometimes this is actually the voice that you remember. This is also something very interesting. And sometimes people didn't meet each other, but then they can still hear the sound, the person singing, and especially through the song. I think this is something very touching. So I would like to show you this arrangement, a little piece at least. So this is the same song that I just played you a little bit, but the arrangement recreated. So if you want to hear more, there's more on YouTube and so on, but I just wanted to give you an impression. Yeah, so and then let's go to the next slide. Yeah, so this is the hat piece that you've seen. This is actually the original, like the photograph that was an inspiration for mine, and I found someone in Lviv who was able to do it pretty much close to this one, and yeah, so this is something that you probably are already familiar with this type of hat piece, but yeah, I think this is very impressive because this also has this tradition of kind of sun. It imitates the sun and brings prosperity and from the pagan times tradition. But okay, so let's jump a little bit because I see the time is not so endless as you always think when you just start your presentation. Yeah, so there is a song which I love. Well, there are many songs that I love, but like there is another song that I love, but I really feel with it so much. And this is a song. It's called A Letter from Canada. I've seen this song in the book that I've showed you at the beginning of the presentation. I've seen the lyrics of the song, and this is actually very dramatical. I will show you. I'll just open this here. So this song also appears in Klimash's collection. And the lyrics is pretty close indeed to the one that is printed in the FedEx book. This song, I was finally able to hear how it sounds after the collection was digitized in Ottawa, and I would like to show you how the sound recording of the informant sounds. And below you see the scores of arrangement that we wrote, right? So I will just skip a little bit.
Це мама співала.
І пишу листа, пишу дрібними сльозами, дармові стежду я, бідна, з діточками. Уже минає рочок, як ти нас покинув, зароби хліба в чужий край полину.
And played by then. This is so fantastic because you hear this typical melismatics from Western Ukraine. They are very characteristic for the districts where people came from. I wanted to share this story with the community as well. So we created an arrangement, and I would like to invite Marek Herz to my presentation. And thank you, Marek, for finding time.
Hello.
Marek will play guitar, and we'll play you the song. This is an arrangement for two of us, but there is also an arrangement for the whole band at the same concert. I think you can see it in YouTube. I will open you the slide with lyrics, and if you like, you could also sing with us. Yeah. Пишу листа, пишу дрібними словами, дармові стежду я, бідна з діточками. Вже минає рочок, як ти нас покинув, заробити хліба в чужий край полину. Ой-я, 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 ой-я. Був кавальчик поля, та була і корова, все то нам поїла та твоя дорога. Було мені тяжко, як ти йшов у чужину, щоб позбула легко не якусь худобину. Ой-я, 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 ой-я. Ти мене все тішив, що меж листа слати, що буду до скрині сатачки складати. Вже минає рочок, ні тебе, ні грошей, де ж ти нам подівся, мужу мій хороший. Ой-я, 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 ой-я. Чи ти у Канаді дружинку маєш, що за свою рідну навіть не задаєш? Чи там у Канаді самі рожі цвіти, що тобі не милі твої рідні діти? Та я вже занесла в застав сардачину, прийшли нам хоч слово, бо з дітьми загинув, та й нема що їсти, ні за що купити, в хаті зазнавало серце тяжко свої люті муки, чи не минув місяць, неділю зрання прийшов лист з Канади, певний від Івана, та й не пишіть більше листів і не нарікайте за душу Івана, пану це віддайте. Ваш Іван у гробі забила його глина, забило глина в клін томарі тобі. Заплакала жінка, заплакали діти і впали на землю, як скошені квіти. Yeah, this is a song. This is a very sad song, and this is there are many songs like this actually, and they say yeah, they tell the stories, they tell the true stories about people who also didn't come back. So I think this is also important to speak about such things, and this is so relevant not only for Ukrainian communities, for Ukrainian-Canadian communities, for yeah, also for other communities to speak about immigration, also things that happened in the past, and maybe there are something that we can avoid in future, and yeah, take care of each other. Yeah, so I think the time, woohoo! Well, I also had an English translation of the lyrics, just in case you're interested. Thank you so much for staying with me and with us and listening. And if you have questions, please email me. You can hear some more music here as well, Spotify and YouTube. And yeah, I hope I didn't forget anything. I for sure did. So just feel free to email me. And thank you again. I think I will yeah, leave the stage for Julia.
Oh, I was going to say, Olga, that was tremendous, amazing. Everyone is, I don't know if you're looking at the chat, but everyone is giving you much bravo, and everyone is complimenting you. So thought I would actually just bring a couple things over from the chat to you in case you missed a question or kind of comment. I think some of them got answered, but in case others didn't see, I will just read out a few items here, and Olga, if you want to jump in, feel free. So at the beginning, we had someone just mention that there was a Dumas family that was very active in music in Winnipeg from the 50s to the 2000s. I'm not sure if you've come across them or know anything about them.
I'm just reading. Wow. There have been a lot happening. I think that many things happening in the chat, and I've missed a lot. I'm sorry.
No, now is a good time to cover it all, so no worries.
I think I should look into this, but thank you. Alberta, maybe I did come across, but I cannot recall right now. But I'll need to look into this. That's about. Okay, I'll look into this. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, and if guests are wondering about where to get a copy of any sort of records or whatnot, then maybe they know people who have recorded items, or maybe someone from their family recorded some music. Where would you think is the best way for them to go? Best course of action? Who they should reach out to you or to someone else? But who should they contact?
Well, there are many collections. Well, this is not the only one collection. There are many materials, and I mean, I think the best way is always start with archives. And for example, our archive, Kule Folklore Center, Bogdan Medvitsky archives, they have fantastic system for search. So you can, oh, the chat disappeared.
You should still see it if you click it again.
No, I don't see it anymore, unfortunately. So if you could just bring it back, that would be great. Yeah, so you could start for sure there, because nobody has such a fantastic memory as the archives do. And then you can always reach out to people. So I could look into this as well. I still don't see the chat.
At the bottom left of your screen.
Oh, no, on the right side, yes. Okay, now, thank you. I see, if I jump through the messages, for example, Andrei Nahachevsky writing, thank you very much, Andrea. Such project is a fantastic project, and I have been working with it, and I'm still a little bit of working with it. This is fantastic, and Nadia, thank you as well. Yeah, you did a fantastic job. There's a huge archive of recordings as well. So there are not only songs, but mainly interviews, but songs are there as well. And you can find many of them online, but some things are not online yet, or like in terms of Klimash collection. I just received the recording, so I'm starting to prepare information for online. So if you're looking for something special, it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. If you don't find it online, you can always reach out to people and ask, like giving us precise information as possible. And then this will increase the possibility of finding a material. I hope that helps.
That's perfect. I think you're just reading through the chat to see if there's anything
I'm
else.
trying. It's just something changed here. So
I think every time someone sends you a message, it just moves up. So no problem.
Now I can. Julia, just in case, maybe if you could copy the chat and send it to me somewhere, maybe I'll read through the questions also after the presentation.
Yeah,
maybe
yeah, we'll make sure to get you on.
Continue the discussion somehow.
A question to you here from Margot. What did you think of Goe's interpretation of Shum, presented of Eurovision? Any thoughts on that?
Shum. So who did the question? It was
the last question that just came in.
The last question. Okay, I gotta scroll to. What do you think of Goe's presentation? Shum presented Eurovision. Well, Shum made a lot of Shum for sure. So I think it's really cool actually, because there are many aspects of this. So I also been following up the discussion of the presentation of Shum, and there was a little bit of Shum about in these terms as well. So I think they've been trying to involve multiple elements, indeed, like folk elements into this presentation. And as we've seen in the experience of Ukrainian experience in the last years, this is something that people kind of like and maybe even expect from Ukraine somehow. If somebody from Ukraine comes, and I guess it started with Ruslana, less or more, people expect this part. And I think that, I mean, the final score kind of, right, it showed it to us that it wasn't a bad shot at all.
I agree. I enjoyed it, but of course you are the music expert, so that makes sense. Perfect. I'm not sure if anyone has any other questions for Olga here. Doesn't look like it, but if you do, feel free to send them our way and we'll get them to Olga.
I didn't even manage to read through all of them, but I'm excited to have so many questions. Thank you. Please reach out and send me your emails, and we will start the bigger discussion. But yeah, I'm literally not managing to read through all of them.
That's okay. We'll get them over to you after. I think those were all the questions that guests had. So that does conclude our presentation or workshop for today. So thank you all for joining us, of course, today and taking time out of your Sunday to hear some music, learn about our history. And дякую, Олю, тобі, що ти поділилася своїм досвідом і знаменитим голосом. Thank you again to Marek Hertz for serenading us with his guitar. I know I'll be sure to check out some of your performances as well. So, and thank you again. Дякуємо Шевченківській фундації, фундації Темертей та фундації СУС в Канаді за їхню щиру підтримку. Дякуємо вам усім за вашу активну участь у чат. Якщо вам сподобалася програма, просимо вислати пожертву, щоб могли далі продовжувати такі програми безкоштовно при інституті. Thank you, Oля, for leading such an interesting and unique presentation. Sincere thank you to the Shevchenko Foundation, Temertes Foundation Community Development Fund, and the SUS Foundation of Canada for sponsoring our SVI Presents virtual events. So events such as these, of course, and other programs offered at St. Vladimir Institute are only possible thanks to our generous donations from people like you. So please visit SVI's website and make a donation. We look forward to seeing you at our next events in this fall season. So on October 24th, we actually have the Canadian premiere of Baba Babi Skazala. So it's a film that tells the little known story of Ukrainian children who were torn from their homes in the crush between the Nazi and Soviet fronts of World War II. So for sure, a very interesting film and meeting with the directors, and that's on October 24th. And then on November 21st, please join us for the very much anticipated next cooking class of SVI's culinary series. So we're going to be making holubtsi and mushroom sauce, so hrybove sauce with Chef Mykola Rutkaj. And of course, we'll be getting some wise tips from his baba and his mama. So stay tuned on our website, join our newsletter to stay in touch with us and enjoy some more programming in future. So once again, thank you all for joining us. Дякуємо, and have a great evening. Hope to see you all again soon. Дякую.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good day.